Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to my first impressions of Space Avenger, Empire of Nexx. This is a title developed by Click Team. They haven't made anything really that great. This also includes a Kickstarted game that is still in early access, despite being 3-4 years on and apparently being abandoned, so not the best track record. This is a top-down shooter. It is described as a rogue arena, super fast-paced action game, and it also looks like a twin stick. It is not either of those things, unfortunately. I'll look at the options menu. Now, you know it's a good sign when, upon booting this game up, I went to click the button that said Create Profile, and then the game immediately tabbed out. The game actually doesn't support any mouse controls at all. Any to speak of. So you might be wondering how I aim in a supposed game that looks like a twin-stick shooter. Oh, we'll find out in a second. We'll find out. But beyond that, the game actually launched in French. I had to change it to English. Again, not a good sign. Under here, we don't have any sound options to speak other than yes or no for music. And you can't, hit left or right on the control stick, which is what I'm using now, or the keyboard. Just the A button, yes or no, or space. Display, full screen, yes or no. This game has no resolution options either. And that's a bit of a problem when you go into windowed mode and it's a tiny little screen. So, yes, not great. Special effects, yes or no? Outstanding. Right. So it is a sci-fi shooter. It's a spaceship shooter. You can run around and you shoot waves of enemies. Very simple idea, right? How could you get that wrong? Well, they did. They did. Okay. So, here are all your planets. Now, normally I play like a couple hours of a game before I give you my impressions of it, because I want to get a good grasp of the game and all the upcoming mechanics that, might be teased in the beginning that I want to really just evaluate later on. But this game, no, I'm not doing that. I am not wasting my time playing this. So there are challenge modes in this game, and there's the story mission. So challenge lets you go through these... things like destroy all targets before the time runs out, confront the elite enemy, and then you get these stars, these gold stars. These stars are used to upgrade your ship. And that's about it. Now let's just get into a game. A little battle right here. Okay, so we have our store. We spend our star points here. So upgrade system is a little bit linear. There are some you just cannot get early on, and you pretty much have to wait. And I'm not talking about these locked ones, no. So laser cannon, need 350 stars, but I max out at 250. So how do I improve that? Well, you have to max out your stars. So yeah, a little bit linear in that area. You do have some ship abilities. I don't know what control and area are, but you do have power and mobility. I'm using a pad because this game is unplayable on keyboard and mouse. And by that, I mean it's unplayable on keyboard because it doesn't support the mouse. It doesn't even support the right stick. The art assets are not terrible, but they lack life. I don't know what I'm looking at in this space station. It looks like stone or some marble. I don't know what's going on with that. It's supposed to be a derelict ship. I don't know. It doesn't leave much to the imagination. Anyway. Let's get right into it. Needless to say, I don't really have much to say about the story. The Commando team is already heading for They can't even spell check this. This game has a publisher and 2 developers. Yet somehow it released in this state. Alright, welcome to the gameplay. It uses an auto-lock system, so whenever an enemy spawns in, you automatically lock to it. You cannot disengage the lock until the enemy is dead. You can, however, switch targets. And let me tell you, that is a massive problem, because in this game, there are these asteroids that I'm currently flying by right now, actually. They have crystals for power to use your missiles, which I'll demonstrate right here. Ooh, they're quite cool, aren't they? And then there's green ones for health, and then yellow for stars. It's kind of cool. It's a little interesting little system where you can destroy these asteroids on the side. And they take forever to destroy. Almost makes it look like you're not even destroying them. Like, look at this. This is on level 4 weapons. Thankfully, the enemies can destroy them too, so you can come in and pick them up. So that's a bit of a problem when you're turned around, you're shooting this asteroid, and all of a sudden this lock-on forces your ship to turn around and fire. And then it's even worse because when the ships leave the screen, as I'll demonstrate right now, or maybe not, they are following me. Sometimes they fall off the screen. Your ship will turn right back around so it can screw with your see, like that. Screw with your navigations. You turn, you do a whole 360 within a second, and it can really throw you off. Thankfully, this game isn't super deep mechanically, so you're not going to be too frustrated on that. What you are going to be frustrated on, though, is the awful hit invincibility that this game has, or the lack thereof. It is really bad. So, when you take damage, you might have seen it earlier, when you take damage, you are ripe for taking damage immediately after. So let's see, 1, ooh, that's 2 actually damage per shot. Let's see if I can, let me actually just see if I can just run and just eat a few shots just to demonstrate. Look at that. Look at how fast you take damage. There's no invincibility. So if you get stuck in a volley like that, you are immediately dead. And of course, you're waiting out these slow waves. So you're shooting asteroids for what feels like forever. You're getting thrown off. You're waiting for the next wave of the same enemy types that take forever to kill. At least on some of the other levels, before you upgrade your weapons. And then you're just waiting, and you're just bored as shit, and then you're making mistakes. Because you just have no patience. It is so unbelievably monotonous. Now, I haven't played a lot of it. I'm only 20 minutes in. But I just cannot imagine this game being any good. The lock-on system completely kills it. Completely kills it for me. It makes it unplayable on keyboard, and it's just barely tolerable on controller. There's a bunch of issues I haven't even mentioned yet. But it's like, well, what about the story? Well, if there's typos everywhere, and the game, has a publisher and a developer, I don't understand, how, and a second developer, I don't understand how it could have, typos like that in a small game like this. I have read your file. It is rather impressing. Spell check. It's unbelievable. Right. So, there's no option to rebind the buttons. It's actually even worse on keyboard than you'd think. It doesn't use W, A, S, and D. It uses E, D, S, and F, which is super unorthodox. My hand naturally goes to W, A, and S, and D, and I just can't handle it otherwise. It's so... I've never played a game that's like that. It's so bizarre. I'm just almost floored by just that level of incompetence. You see, yeah, E, S, D, and F. Alright, so this is the second level. We gotta wait for the enemies to spawn. Now I get, okay, we're gonna just slowly spawn the enemies in, pace it out in a way where, oh, it's a tutorial, but, it's still bad pacing in my opinion, because, it's just so slow, and, the combat is just so mediocre. If you throw a lot of enemies fairly quickly, it'll work better, but the problem is, of course, is that the hit invincibility is broken by default, so if you throw a lot of enemies on the screen, well, suddenly you have nothing to counter them with. There are games where, they, you get showered with bullets, Ikaruga is a good example of this. Ikaruga is a game that came out on the Dreamcast, 2 decades ago, and it was a 2D vertical shooter, and you had a lot of projectiles coming at you, a lot of them. But you had defenses for them right out of the gate. One of the things was that, you had these light blue projectiles hitting you, and then these black and red projectiles. And you could switch your ship to not take damage from one of them, right? So that was kind of the mechanic. It was just, you had your finger on the button to switch around. And, it helped that, it was very fast-paced. You shot a lot faster than this. And it was quite, interesting design-wise. You had a lot of really cool-looking ships and enemies and all that stuff. And here it's just super slow, and you die so quick. Ikaruga, you could die quick too, right? One hit. But you had all kinds of ways to, prevent that. You had the hit invincibility. You had the shields when you spawned. Because there's bullets everywhere. It would be a terrible game if the hit invincibility didn't work. It's a critical thing in shmups. Because everything comes down to the frame. And in this game, look at this. Hold on. Oh, wait, hold on. It's just insane. You do have a life bar, I get that, but at the same time, it takes forever to upgrade it. And health, you have to hammer these asteroids to get your health back. Just hammer them. And your ship pickup range for these items isn't great. You have to upgrade that too. I'm starting to see where the roguelite claim that the developers are talking about in the store page is coming from. You bash your head against the wall over and over again, just getting this trickle-down currency to upgrade your crappy ship to be slightly less crappy so that you can maybe kill this dude, or maybe win this mission, or maybe not want to put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger. It's just so repetitive, and that's all I have to say. I'm sorry. I'm done. Thank you for watching. Don't buy this game. I don't know what's going on with publishers on Steam recently, especially this year, in 2020, the year of our Lord. But I've seen games like Necronator, Dead Wrong, has a publisher. Game advertises itself as a micro RTS. No, it's a repetitive lane-based strategy game with no effort and just very little substance. Skull Attack, slightly more substance, but very repetitive, not a roguelike like it was described. And then you have this. Again, not a roguelike. Misleading, has a publisher, yet somehow it is worse than bottom-of-the-barrel indie games that I've seen on Steam. They have, like, no budget. It's just mind-boggling. Like, how many of these games are coming out. I thought the asset flips being dead because of Steam refunds was, like, a good thing. Like, oh, we weren't going to see something like this again, but it's so weird. It's like shovelware. Bargain bin stuff, and it's not even good enough for the I've been to bargain bins when I was a kid. I've seen better games than this. If you want a twin-stick shooter, go pick up Galaxy. It is much better than this. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm out.